One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides up to his ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar. Insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Well, shit. What's up with everyone, man? Much love, honor, and respect to everybody coming in and hanging out with your boy, man. Listen, I hope that all of you legends had a wonderful Christmas. I know the hell that I did. I hope it was stress-free for everyone, even though I know it's one of the most stressful times of the year. So that's why I hope that it was stress-free. So, guys, we got a lot to go over today. We're going to be breaking some news. Earlier today in the news reports, they were basically saying Israel vows to launch retaliatory attack on the Houthis, right? So that actually does happen, and they reported on it about 45 minutes ago or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and break that news as well. They did not only say that, hey, we're going to do this. They actually say it, and then they do it. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the craziness. But before we do, man, we got to hit that like button, yo. It's number one metric of all of YouTube, helps out the show immensely, and it's free to do so. What else is free is hitting that subscribe button if you're brand new to the show, man, and enjoying it. Also, please consider becoming a member, only starting at $2.99 a month, man. Helps out the show immensely, and you guys get members-only live streams every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. CST, man. We get down and crazy over there, man. Bit uncensored. Quite a bit uncensored. Anyways, follow my Instagram right here at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only myself and my lifestyle, but as well as the show and Millennial Food Time. We get crazy over there. This is where I direct message everyone, by the way. So make sure you hit me up over there. Last but not least, man, of course, every super chat, every super sticker, gifted membership signups are all shouted out. But if you guys would like to skip the YouTube 30% brutal cut, then we'll have these scrolling for the remainder of the show. And of course, I'll shout you out in those, and your message, I'll shout it out. So we'll allow that to scroll. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you legends up in the building, man, all the way around the world. We got Brother Beezer over there in South Florida, my man. Good to see you. We got Blair, 1%er over there in Texas. Military industrial complex has to start new shit because Ukraine is not going to be funded in a couple of months. That's right. We need another funnel, don't we? We need a whole different funnel, don't we?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no, I see you. But I hope that you're all having a good one. We got freaking Steve Easy up in the building. It's always a honor. We got Brother Hank. Shit, man. We got Snark up in here. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas as well as Tats over there in England. Hopefully you're doing well over there as well. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed yourselves, Israel wants all the smoke. Yeah, we're watching that happen, right? Pitbull over there in England as well says, remember to rev the like button and drop the clutch on the share button to wheel spin this show out of here. Hope you're all okay and having a great day. Hope you are too, bro. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. So, all right, we're going to get into it. This is some crazy news. Let's get into it. This is off of Live Now from Fox. This is off of the live stream that's actually happening right now. We just have it backed up a little bit, obviously, to save our spot. And then we're actually going to hear this report. This is actually a fairly long report regarding Israel vowing to strike the Houthis, right? Now, right after that report, it goes dead for about an hour and a half of news. I mean, it's not dead, but like, you know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with Israel. And then the breaking news of Israel actually attacking Yemen. So we're about to get into that. So,
and I do want to take you out to this live image that we do have over the Israel-Gaza border
Straight Jacket,
coming in
my
from
man.
the Associated Press, as you can see.
Huggy.
And we are going to stay international and bring you the latest out of the Middle East. The head of Israel's Air Force vowing to launch tougher retaliatory attacks on the Houthi rebels in Yemen after the terror
Brother
group
Charles, good morning, my
continues
man.
to launch rocket attacks in Tel Aviv.
Good morning the next day, by the way, you know, because you guys are time traveling people over there in your fake country, you know.
Mark Chandler is the director of government relations at Coastal Carolina University and a professor of practice that is also a former senior defense intelligence official. He joins us quite a bit here on Live Now from Fox. Mark, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this just a little bit further.
You're welcome,
so this
Josh.
guy, Mark, being brought up in here, I've actually never seen this guy before, but apparently he's the Coastal Carolina University director or something like that. So anyways, I really don't know this guy's takes, his biasness. I don't know one way or the other where this guy stands. I actually don't know. So it's always interesting to hear from different journalists, different reporters. So yeah, let's hear.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to ask, because we're...
Shit. Hold on real quick. He sends in a two British pounds, by the way, saying this is all from all members from the Insane Fam. Hey, I appreciate you, man. That's dues paid right there, cuh. I very much appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the patronage and help to the channel.
A lot more about these Houthi attacks on Israel. Are they ramping up? Are the Houthi terrorists, the Houthi rebels there, ramping up their attacks on Israel?
Well, Josh, I don't know if I would so much characterize it as ramping up their attacks. They've conducted over 300 attempted attacks throughout the past year since Hamas invaded Israel. So when you go and look at what the Houthis have done, you know, they've had about 200 on Israel itself with ballistic missiles and UAVs. But what I would characterize it, if you look at this, I would say they're getting more accurate and they're focusing their attacks. I mean, so we had two attacks, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve on Israel. Last week, we had two attacks. These are ballistic missiles that are actually making
fucking sending ballistic missiles at that.
It through Israeli defenses. So I think with this focused attack, and maybe they've obtained a little bit more sophisticated.
Good morning, by the way, Mr. Martin up in the building. Appreciate you for hanging out with us.
Missile from Iran. You know, Iran's got thousands and thousands of missiles and one of the better missile inventories in the world. So I think that what they're working on is their ability to focus these attacks and get through those Israeli defenses. As good as the missile defense is in Israel, there are leaks, and it only takes one or two of these missiles to cause damage or kill people.
I do have to ask overall, and you kind of touched on this here, but how does the Houthi arsenal, so to speak, compare to that of Hamas, Hezbollah, but also Israel?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know what, Straight? Just accept your fate, grab a beer, sit down, fuck the gym. You know, just grab a beer. What's up, brother Pitbull? Hey, gifting out a membership out to you guys. Unfortunately, it didn't even disperse. And I'm not even surprised because of this topic right here. And YouTube loves to not disperse the memberships when we're talking about a certain state. I don't know what it is or why. Couldn't tell you. But I guess don't be sending in any gifted memberships anymore, guys, because apparently it will it'll just defund or it'll refund you in 3 days if it doesn't disperse to anybody, which it's not. So anyways, I appreciate the thought though, Mr. Pitbull. Appreciate you.
Are the Houthis as strong as Israel militarily?
Well, first and foremost, no, they are not overall militarily as strong or sophisticated as Israel. However, I think that's what gives the Houthis a little bit of advantage. When you compare them to the tens of thousands of rockets and missiles that Hezbollah had, for example, and their proximity to Israel, that makes them very dangerous. You know, a lot of airstrikes have to be conducted, and we've seen Israel do that to get to the ceasefire with Hezbollah. Hamas, very unsophisticated, but a lot of.
Yo, that is a fantastic little saying, without sauce. I'm going to add that to my shit now. Eat my dick, suck my dick without sauce. Yeah, I'm going to start saying that shit. That's too good.
And rockets themselves.
Thanks, Charles.
But their proximity makes them very dangerous. The Houthis, well, the Houthis have space advantage. They're at least 1,200 miles away from Israel, but they have, I would say, a varied inventory of Soviet-style equipment, Russian-style equipment, and Iranian-style equipment. You know, you have to realize that the Houthis have been in a civil war for 10 years. And the Saudis,
yeah, no kidding,
had attacked the Houthis for almost those same 10 years. And you still have a Houthi capability to launch missiles throughout the Middle East. So they're not as sophisticated, they're not as good, let's say, as Israel. But I think because they've been resupplied by Iran so well, and they're getting some sophistication, and the tyranny of distance, as we say, that gives them that capability to continue these attacks. And the hundreds and thousands of missiles they received during the Saudi war with the Houthis and Saudis from Iran, that inventory still exists.
And another really weird side note, well, not weird, I guess, just an off topic, because it's in this live stream, but we actually already passed it to keep up on this topic, and then we're going to do the breaking news. And then I'm going to bring it back all the way back to, I guess, last night. Russia attacked Ukraine's infrastructure again. So we'll go more into that. But just wanted to let you guys know, this is before the strike on the Houthis. And then just about 2.5 hours later in this live stream, Israel attacked the Houthis. So it's pretty wild. We're going to be watching it all the way. And yes, for you over there on the East Coast, but here in CST, it ain't 11:11 yet, cuh. Shit. What's up, Roz? It's good to see you, my man. Hopefully you had a wonderful Christmas and having a good morning, my man. Yes, sir. Back to this.
What does, on that same note, Israel ramping up its retaliatory strikes, its counteroffensive there against the Houthis in Yemen? What does that look like? Do we have any idea at this point what it could look like?
Well, I can touch on some historic aspects of what has happened, and Israel needs to get serious. And I'm not saying they haven't been serious. You know, they've conducted 3 very.
I like how this guy just said Israel needs to get serious. I don't think Israel can be any more fucking serious than fighting like fucking 7 wars at the same time. Think they can be any more serious.
Good strikes. The most recent one on the 19th of December, a multi-wave strike. But what you're looking at here is
couldn't even tell you. Like you know that prattle, that government prattle almost, where they just start spewing shit, you know, and people are like they don't even like fucking hear it because they're just like tuning out the bullshit at this point. Yeah. This is the kind of shit that I do love though, is being able to see it and call shit out too,
really
right?
Stop this Houthi threat, especially with these ballistic missiles, is what we would call a sustained air campaign. That means more than one night,
Wolf.
Even if it's a multi-wave strike,
more
than one night of attacks. If I can put this in perspective,
Merry Christmas to you and yours, my man.
You know, I was a young Marine target intel officer, and one of our targets, our most critical target in the war with Iraq, was the Scud missile launchers. They were launching them against our allies. They were launching against all our positions in Saudi Arabia before we conducted the ground invasion. So we, the United States, along with several of our allies, conducted a sustained air campaign for almost 30 days. Number one target, go after the Scud launchers, because if you don't have a launcher, you can't launch the missile. So we had that sustained air campaign. We had aircraft overhead all the time. We have a concerted intelligence collection effort for our number one target.
Who's
you know how many Scuds we killed?
Who's we? You keep saying we. You mean Israel, motherfucker, unless you in Israel, but it looks like you got a United States shit. It looks like you from, yeah, I mean, everything's United States here. I mean, aside from there's, I mean, obviously a star back here, but I have no idea what, I think this dude's 100% American. I don't know why I keep saying we.
0 after 30 days of an air campaign. So that shows you the complexity of what Israel is facing. They have to put up intelligence assets. They have to make that timely. They have 1,200 miles to fly. So they have to put together a strike package that includes updated intelligence, tanker aircraft, and enough bombing aircraft to strike multiple targets almost simultaneous to the intelligence. It's a very complicated, and it has to be sustained effort if the Israelis want to take this out.
And the question here, because you have this ceasefire with Hezbollah that appears to still be intact, you have some movement on a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas. So is that allowing Israel
Gary,
to
good morning, my man.
focus more
Merry
resources,
Christmas.
more of its military resources there on the Houthis specifically?
That's a great question, Josh. And one, I want to draw a distinction between the types of fighting that Israel finds itself in. So it's a predominantly ground campaign in both Gaza and up in southern Lebanon. We have the ceasefire, so we're pulling that out. But those have been ground forces supported with airstrikes. And those airstrikes, they're coming and they're flying just a few minutes to their targets. If we look at what they have to fly to Yemen to strike the Houthis, we're talking hours of flights. We're talking hundreds of miles where they're going to have to fly.
It takes that fucking long? I didn't know it took that long.
And hours to go to the target, hours to get back. Not just
wow, hours.
A few minutes to take off and conduct strikes like they have been.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, considering how close everything else is to Israel, and then geographically where Yemen is. I mean, it is Yemen is south, right? Isn't that south of Israel? I can't remember. Yeah, it is south, I believe.
Intelligence effort is going to be massive that they've got to do to collect in Yemen. However, even though you still have a ceasefire, you have Hezbollah still trying to violate it. So you have to collect and be aware of the threats coming there. You have Hamas,
South and east.
Hostage situation, still trying to get that information. So you've got a lot of challenges on the intelligence apparatus for Israel. This is a significant challenge. So the fighting's a little different. It's going to expand. I don't know if it opens up as much freedom for Israel to act militarily by relieving some of the pressure. And don't forget, Iran remains a viable threat throughout the region, and you've got the destabilized Syria right now.
Does the U.S. step in? Does the U.S. involvement change in the strike?
That's a good question, Josh Breslow, the reporter for Live Now from Fox.
On the Houthis, because we remember that the Houthis have been designated a terrorist organization by the U.S. So what is the U.S. role there? Do they take a more active role?
Well, I can't speak to what the current or the future administration will do. However, militarily, what my opinion would be is the U.S. must step in at this time.
Oh, God. Fuck no. Fuck no.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
We cannot get sucked into this bullshit. We cannot get sucked in. Come on, man. Dude.
Have to provide at least intelligence support to the Israelis. And what I would charge is that we do some sort of coordination planning. And why would we do that? One, I talked about the Desert Storm challenge of hunting missiles down and trying to stop an enemy across a vast landscape. So when I look at that, intelligence is required, but this airspace deconfliction, the United States, unfortunately, we had a friendly fire incident and shot down one of our own F-18s.
Yeah, this dude right here, 100%.
Last week. So let's imagine that we have U.S. aircraft flying, and then we have Israeli aircraft.
In all fairness, he did say, in my opinion, he did say that.
And they're going after some of the same targets because we didn't coordinate that in advance. So there's a lot of confusion that can happen in that airspace. Secondly, we're both attacking and we're both trying to achieve the same objectives, to stop the Houthi attacks and to defeat the Houthis militarily from interfering with world trade. If we work together, if we deconflict our efforts, I think that'll create a better synergy on the military landscape to go against the Houthis. So, yeah, I'm not looking for war, but I would advocate, since we're already there, let's do a better planning and coordination effort.
Yep, and probably no close family, no nothing. Yeah. Facts.
With one of our allies.
One thing that's incredibly interesting is we heard from Iran's supreme leader, and he said now that they don't need Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iranian proxies there to fight against Israel.
fucking stop the cap. I mean, Josh is right. Like, I know that he's going to call them out on his bullshit, but on that, whatever claim, whoever, I guess that's, Iranian's president made that claim, which is totally fucking fake news. They need the terrorist organizations in the Middle East to keep Iran afloat. I mean, that's literally their funding. Iran funds all the terrorist groups over there except for like a couple. You know what I mean? Like, they are the hub of this shit. Don't tell me that the most powerful fucking oppositions against Israel, they don't need them. Stop the fucking cap. Iran, stop capping. That's crazy.
Does that make sense? Because it sounds as though
no, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, they're fighting alongside them. Now they're saying they don't even need them. What is all?
Yes, Hank, it is a left-handed tobacco vape, and I have a nicotine vape, which you guys see me hit all the time. But I also, when I hold this up, that's a left-handed tobacco right there. Shit.
What does that mean? What do you make of all of that?
Well, I think that's some typical Iranian bluster, Josh, to be honest with you, because for decades, they have touted the partnership with their proxies all throughout the region, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Shia militia in both Syria and Iraq. I think what you're seeing is that bluster coming from Iran, trying to push back on really, Iran has been beaten back in Syria.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm even hearing of this dude, Mark.
Beaten back by the losses that Hezbollah has taken, that Hamas has taken. And so when you look at that, at one moment they're reaching out.
What's up, brother Shadow?
At the next moment they're trying this bluster. At one moment they're saying they're not going to pursue nuclear weapons. The next moment they say it's their right and they will continue to pursue nuclear weapons. I would at this point in decades, both militarily and perhaps politically, they're facing challenges. So they have to try to put on this face, if you will, but if anything was going to happen, or if anyone needed to take military advantage of Iran, now is the time to do it, especially.
Yes, by the way, I got blocked before we started, just so everyone knows in the chat, right? Before we had even started the live, I was getting blocked on my own account, on my own platform. So that's when I know that we're all going to get shadow banned, like in the sense where you type a message, it looks like you sent it, but it didn't actually go through. So that shit is fucking frustrating, because especially when I have to spell out what I wanted to say 6 different ways just for it to get through, that shit is fucking whack, yo. And YouTube, you guys got to fix that shit for real. I mean, if people are saying some TOS shit, yes, block it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But no one here is saying some actual TOS shit. So if it's not against TOS, why are we fucking blocking it? Come on, man.
If they start to make a dash or a push for nuclear weapons, that, now is the time to act. If someone was going to, and I'm not advocating that at this time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of concern about the nuclear weapons, a nuclear bomb, things of that nature within Iran. So that's a question that we're going to continue to follow here as we get more developments from the IAEA. All right, Mark Chandler.
Oh, shit. Good morning, Mr. Ball, Breakfast Crew, BNC, and all the haters. Stop the cap. That's right.
Stop the cap.
Hey, Joseph, my man up there in, enjoying Canada. Hopefully you're enjoying the beautiful, beautiful snow up there. Sorry, I can't keep going with that. There's no way it sounds good. Come on down to the south, homie, where we can actually enjoy outside, and also enjoy freedom. So, anyways, back to this.
Anything else you want to add here before I let you go?
Well, Josh,
it's whack, yo.
We talked about this, and this interview just covered a lot of the threats across the region. So when we look at that, we're transitioning. It's just 20-something days or less, actually, before we have a new administration. That administration is going to inherit a chaotic Middle East. And so when you look at that, they have to go in with this.
When has the Middle East not been chaotic?
Strategic approach on day one. And that is something that the Biden administration just failed to do until the end. And you can't, at the end of time, start to look strategically. So the Trump administration has to go in for that, has to put down what we're going to do and re-engage us militarily and diplomatically and create that environment for a positive U.S. involvement there. And that's not going to be easy, especially with how Syria is fractured, and we don't know how that's going to make up. And then the Middle East isn't his only challenge that he's going to face. You look at the war in the Ukraine.
Ukraine, Russia, abso-motherfucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. We have way more involved. I mean, I'm saying right now, that really needs to be the first thing that gets handled is Russia, Ukraine, in my opinion. Okay. This is totally my opinion. At this point, we need to focus on Russia, Ukraine, get that settled because that's something that we can actually deal with. And there can be peace there. The Middle East is never going to be fucking peace ever. You know what I mean? Like, even if we fucking carpet bomb, you know what I mean? Even if we carpet bomb the whole Middle East, dude, they pop right back up like cockroaches. It doesn't matter. The ideology is not going to die over there. The ideology is, I mean, they teach their fucking children this shit. They indoctrinize from the very fucking, from conception. What do you expect? There's no way we cannot take the fucking bait with the Middle East. That's what we need not to do, is not get baited in with the Middle East. We can negotiate from afar. Negotiate. That's different. But Russia, Ukraine, that's something that needs to be handled fucking first.
You look at what China's doing in North Korea and Iran nuclear weapons that we just discussed. So a lot of chaos is going to be coming in the next few weeks. That's going to end of administration and a beginning of administration coming in. So it's a lot to look for.
Yeah, and we'll be watching very closely. Mark Chandler, thank you so much, as always, for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Josh. Glad I could be here. Hopefully I helped a little bit, and have a great day.
You always do. Thank you so much. And you are taking a live look at the White House here. As Mark did mention, Trump's inauguration is set for January 20th.
Okay, so now we're going to skip ahead into where we got breaking news about Yemen. Okay, Israel attacking Yemen. So this goes exactly on on the exact topic. So we're going to keep it on topic because this is breaking news as of like an hour ago. Let's go ahead and tune in.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:36 on the East Coast and 6:36 on the West Coast. Do want to head back international as we cover the latest out of the Middle East. This post coming in from Trey Yingst, as he says that airstrikes have been reported in the capital of Yemen. Now, we have, of course, been talking about how Israel, top military officials there, have said that they are going to ramp up their retaliatory attacks against the Houthis in Yemen. Not sure of all the details on this just yet, but we'll make sure to bring them to you as we do get more details coming in on Live Now from Fox. Also do want to take this live look. I believe this is coming in over the Israel-Gaza border at this hour. Following reports that 5 journalists were killed in an Israel strike, the Israel Defense Forces saying that they were actually 5 Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives who were, quote, posing as journalists. A Palestinian TV.
Jesus Christ. Posing as journalists. Yeah, that's your way of being able to get in. And yep. That shit sucks, man, because guys like me that are actually in journalism, if I wanted to do something, which I do actually plan to go to Israel. I'm actually going to do that one day. And when I do want to get a pass to be able to fucking record some shit. So you have to have some trust in the media, but then you're going to be followed the whole fucking time. You know, that's something that you have to give up, right? But I'm okay with that shit. But they make the shit that's why they have to follow you around, because you got guys that will pose as journalists, and not only are you worried about them going against your narrative, but what if they're just posing to be journalists and then they're fucking terrorists? Jesus Christ, man.
Channel reportedly affiliated with the Islamic Jihad identified the dead as their staffers. A lot to figure out in that situation as well. And as always, so much developing out of the Middle East. So I do want to bring in a good friend of the show here. We do have Benjamin Anthony, co-founder and CEO of the Miriam Institute and combat veteran. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
course.
That's fair.
Well, first off, I do want to talk about these reports that are coming in out of Yemen, where Israel has reportedly struck the capital there. Obviously, a lot of this information still developing, but we did hear from top Israeli military officials as they said that Israel will ramp up its retaliatory attacks against the Houthis in Yemen. What do you make of all of this, and what are those retaliatory attacks likely to look like?
So it's a little bit more nuanced, as is usually the case. Firstly, Israel has now set about doing something which it didn't have until this point, namely unfurling a very serious, very focused intelligence network inside Yemen in order to be able to take the fight to the leadership of the Houthis with greater effectiveness. Now, we had that in southern Lebanon. We've obviously had that in Syria. We've even had that inside Iran, as we've seen from previous events. We've not really focused on Yemen, and we've not really focused on having that on the ground there.
This guy's straight from the UK or what?
With regard to the Houthis. So that's the first thing that's happening. In order to act operationally, you have to have good, solid intelligence. Israel's in the midst of building that out. Beyond that, I can tell you that the leadership of the Houthis are going below ground. The
No
leadership
way.
of the Houthis are going below ground.
That's fucking dope right there. I didn't know that. That's a little gem of info. I appreciate
They
that.
are acting like an organization that knows that the target is on the back of its leadership. And that is because Israel is ramping up the attacks inside Yemen, per your question. But there is some discord. We do have Israeli defense establishment leaders saying, for example, that Israel, in order to dampen these ambitions, these terror ambitions of the Houthis, needs to now start targeting Iran directly.
Boy, is that the fucking truth, Steve. But I guess, listen, they know better than we do in the sense that they're actually fucking there, right? You know what I mean? So I guess that's why that trust is there.
Those officials
In all
are
fairness.
mooted to include the current head of the Mossad, David Barnea, so really a heavyweight. But we have heard also that the Prime Minister of Israel views Iran as a completely separate matter, and that the two heads, the Houthis and the Iranians, those need to be split for the time being. Ramp up intelligence, ramp up attacks that will eventuate from better intelligence in Yemen, and then view Iran as its own issue. Now, with all of that having been said, Josh, and just in conclusion, one thing I want your viewers to know is all these issues are being discussed extensively between Israel's leadership and the incoming administration of President Donald Trump. So what's really going to happen is being discussed behind closed doors, rightly so.
And kind of expanding on what you're talking about, a lot of people will say they kind of associate the Houthis with Yemen, but there is a distinction there, right?
Well, a little bit, but
yeah. So the Houthis are a little bit different to other Iranian proxies. For example, they are less likely to come to heel. They have their own ambitions. They have their own desires.
Yeah, in Yemen.
And they are not as obedient when it comes to Iran's wishes as we've seen Hamas be in the past, as we've seen Hezbollah be in the past. And they are a very different type of threat. Now, in addition to that, with regard to the Houthis, Israel has for years, Josh, tried to explain to the international community that the Iranian nuclear threat is an international problem. It's not a problem particular to Israel. But the international community hasn't really come along to that way of thinking.
No, I get it, Hank. I get you.
For various reasons. It's over in the distance. It's somewhere in the Middle East. Democratic states don't feel the imminent threat from Iran that the state of Israel does. Western democratic states don't feel it. But the Houthis, they're different. And the reason is because they are affecting international trade routes, international shipping lanes, supply chain, any number of issues on an international scale. And that's why I think you're probably going to see more of an international response with regard to the Houthis than one would expect necessarily with regard to a proactive kinetic strike against Iran's nuclear facilities to this point. That could change, but it hasn't done until now.
If Israel were to directly attack Iran, what are the potential implications of a direct attack by Israel on Iran?
Well, I personally am of the school of thought that Israel should have launched a kinetic strike against Iran's nuclear capability.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that either. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to that either, but not from the US side. If I were in Israel and I can make those decisions, I'm sure that sounds, I'm sure there's reasons why you don't, right? Of course, there always is. But that is what I would go, okay, yeah, I wonder why we haven't done that yet.
Some time ago. We're said to have come close to doing that several years ago. And in addition to the wild kinetic capabilities, we've seen Israel pull off incredible raids against Iran's nuclear weapons program, whether that be through espionage, whether it be through the seizing of the nuclear archive from inside Tehran, whether it be the elimination of nuclear scientists, individuals who suddenly are taken off the face of the earth by an adjacent motorcycle riding next to them. All of that's positive, but in terms of what would be the implications of a strike on Iran's nuclear weapons facilities, I think it would just be a safer world. I don't think that Israel needs to be fearful of the Iranians. I've never believed that Israel ought to be fearful of the Iranians. But
Israel ain't fearful of no one.
If there was some reason for hesitancy within Israel, it would have in the past been that if we strike Iran's nuclear weapons capabilities, or nuclear weapons program rather, Iran would pull the trigger and have Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, the Iranian proxy, unleash with all its fury its capabilities against Israel. Remember, Hezbollah was right there on the border with Israel.
Yes.
Hezbollah has been massively downgraded, not eliminated. And so that deterrent that Hezbollah played, giving that shield, if you like, against Israel striking Iran's nuclear weapons program, that deterrent has largely gone now. And for that reason, I think that now is the time to hit Iran's nuclear capabilities, nuclear weapons program. And I must tell you, we have a very small window to do so. I don't think we'll have a better security situation surrounding Israel's borders than we do right now. And now, very much in my opinion, is the moment to push back against Iran's rapacious goals, namely taking out their nuclear weapons capabilities.
We know that a ceasefire does remain, quote unquote, intact right now between Israel and Hezbollah over in Lebanon. Does that appear to be the case? What is it like there in that area, that border area, as you have this ceasefire still in effect?
So the achievements and accomplishments of the Israel.
Well, Charles, in my opinion, because I don't know how it would actually go down. So it's all, whatever. So I think that if Iran was not any more involved with the bullshit, I think that it would tame down a bit. I think it would. But you got to remember, no matter what you do, you can, like I said, you can carpet bomb these people. You can do this. It doesn't matter. You're only buying time. It's just going to happen again and again and again and again. You're not going to stop it. You're just not. Unfortunately, these are like hard realities. I'm not telling you how it should be. I'm telling you how it fucking is. Until honestly, the honest truth is the only way you're going to see a bit more peace in the Middle East, honest, is if Jerusalem and the Israeli state itself was no longer. The ideology, they would have to change religions, ideologies, all of that. And that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So it's a hard reality. You know what I mean?
Israel Defense Forces inside southern Lebanon against Hezbollah are tremendous. They're tremendous, and they're not to be spoken against in any way whatsoever. Really phenomenal results came from Israel's operation inside southern Lebanon. But Hezbollah was not eliminated, and we know that Hezbollah ensconces itself within the civilian population. Now, part of that ceasefire agreement, which is something that I was not in favor of, incidentally, in the analysis I provide.
He's talking about the Hezbollah ceasefire agreement, right? Okay, so just so everyone's clear, that ceasefire agreement that we have with Hezbollah, right? It's actually not Hezbollah themselves. It's with the Lebanese government. It has nothing to do with Hezbollah. It's a ceasefire with Lebanon and their government, and expecting their government to keep that Iranian proxy in check. That's essentially it. You know what I mean?
Was that Lebanese civilians can return to the border with Israel. The vaunted buffer zone, demilitarized zone that Israel was saying it needed in any future arrangement between northern Israel and southern Lebanon, that buffer zone did not emerge. When you move Lebanese civilians to the border with Israel, you are moving Hezbollah back to the border with Israel. And so even though the ceasefire seems to be holding, we're seeing that there is a real hesitancy among Israelis. Remember, there were 60 to 80,000 northern residents of Israel who were essentially refugees in their own home, in their own country, post October the 7th because of the threat.
Absolutely, Brother Steve. Much love, honor, and respect to you, kind sir.
They have been.
Hey, I'll be drinking out of the whiskey glass that you sent me. I'll be drinking out of that later on this afternoon. So I'll send you a nice little picture, my man. Hell yeah. Appreciate it.
Central Israel, southern Israel, coastal Israel. There is a hesitancy among that population to move back to the north. Now, the Israeli government is saying that it's going to build back up the population in northern Israel by way of subsidies and financial inducements and other means. But the people on the ground are not yet convinced of the durability of this ceasefire agreement.
You kind of already touched on this, but how do you expect, and this is kind of a question that so many people have asked, and there's no real clear answer, but how do you expect that the U.S. involvement there in the Middle East could change when we see President-elect Donald Trump here in the U.S. take office in late January?
I think it's already changing, to be perfectly frank about it.
Yeah, no, as soon as Trump won the election night, shit changed. The landscape, the future of these states, these countries have changed indefinitely. 100%. Yes, that is true. It did change. Now, did it change dramatically? I would say yes and no. I mean, I know that sounds wishy-washy, but yes and no. Because the ideologies are never going to die, in my opinion, right? But when you had someone that was not going to essentially put their foot down, they know they can get away with a lot more. And that's essentially what, believe it or not, the terrorist organizations wanted Kamala Harris to win, because they would have been able to stampede the whole shit. And they know that. But they can't do that with Trump. And that is the truth.
So firstly, you have a president, an incoming president, President-elect Trump, who is speaking to the players in the Middle East in a language that they well understand. You'll recall the post that he put out on Truth Social, I believe it was, several weeks ago, saying that there would be all hell to pay if the hostages were not returned from inside Gaza prior to him taking office on January 20th. I think that he actually expressed, if memory serves, that the response of America to the lack of a return of the hostages would be beyond anything that the world has seen before. You think about American responses such as Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I don't think that the president-elect was referring to a kinetic response of that scale, but it was very, very strong.
Yeah. What's up, brother Bill Hicks? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. No, I'm just kidding. You're not on the other side of the world. Well, I can't remember. You're not Australian. Yeah, you're not. You're over here. Okay. So anyways, what's up, my man? Hopefully you're having a wonderful Christmas season as well, because I know it just kind of ended, but hopefully you had a Merry Christmas as well, man. You and the family.
Language. That seems.
Oh, you are Aussie. Okay. I thought you might be, but then I was like, man, I think he might be American. But hey, that's a compliment, right?
Among the players to get into negotiations again, but we're seeing those negotiations stall.
Thank you, Pablo, by the way.
Nobody knows the outcome of a negotiation until it has concluded. And we saw today, incidentally, Josh, that Hamas is now saying that it is not able to provide a list of living hostages inside Gaza until Israel halts its fighting inside the Gaza Strip. So Hamas is demanding essentially a ceasefire.
Merry Christmas,
in order to move
man.
towards a ceasefire.
Appreciate you for being here.
Intelligence about who Israel's hostages are, who is alive, who is no longer with us.
How do I say that, by the way? Dianthe. Is that how I say it? Like, I'm actually trying. I'm not trying to be like, I'm just illiterate as fuck. That's my problem. So, Dianthe, Merry Christmas to you and yours, by the way. Good morning.
The other thing that I will just tell you is, with regard to the hostage crisis, I want all of your viewers to know that the hostages taken on October the 7th have now been in captivity for longer than the hostages seized during.
Charles, you guys don't have air conditioning over there? You guys don't got no aircon? How the fuck you living without air conditioning when it's 101 degrees at night? Shit. We got Brother Joker up in the building, by the way, saying good morning, Mike, and everyone. Much love, honor, and respect. Much love, honor, and respect to you, kind sir. I appreciate you. Hopefully you're having a wonderful morning. I know the hell we all are enjoying our time, watching some of the madness that's going around the world. Right after this report, this breaking news, we're actually going to go back in time in this live stream, and we're going to actually check out a bit about Russia, Ukraine, because it is in the media. There was something that happened last night. So we're going to go ahead and discuss it. I believe Russia attacked Ukraine's some sort of infrastructure. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. But yeah, hang in there with this.
The Iranian hostage crisis. It's time for the hostages to come home. Now, when President Ronald Reagan came into office following the administration of Jimmy Carter, America's hostages were promptly released on Inauguration Day. I'd like to see the very same happen for Israel's hostages currently being held inside Gaza by Hamas.
Yeah, and how many are actually alive, do you think? I mean, that's another sad reality. Those hostages, the 100 hostages that are left, the 101 or whatever it is, are they even fucking alive? Maybe 2 or 3 of them? Sad, dude.
Hamas by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, but I don't
That
merely
sucks.
want the American hostages who are still
Is that a hangover feeling like shit or like a sick feeling like shit? Hopefully it's a hangover. You know what I
in
mean?
captivity in Gaza. A lot of people don't realize that. Don't really want to see them come home. I want to see all of the hostages come home.
Yes,
the Americans
that's true.
and the Israelis
I would want that too,
alike.
of course.
Let's have them
If
all
they're
home,
alive.
back to Israel, back to their families, so that those families can finally bring some closure to this horrific ordeal.
All right, Benjamin Anthony, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us and break down all the developments there out of the Middle East. A lot developing there pretty much on an hourly basis. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah for those who are celebrating it, and may next year be a brighter year, a year of peace and prosperity.
That's a nice message. He ended that well.
15 minutes for a live report from the airport. We also know that there was a secondary arrest.
Yes. So, by the way, something that we haven't discussed on here yet this morning, just because it's right here, I'm going to go ahead and announce it. So, there was a shooting and a stabbing at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport this morning. So, that is another type of breaking story that's happening right now. Also, regards to the illegal immigrant, the alien that was in this country, new details after man accused of setting subway passenger on fire, and that happened in New York in a subway, station. So we're going to go ahead and get into a bit about that. We're not going to dive super deep into those. I do want to see Russia, Ukraine, because we are going to be talking about that. Several arrested for alleged assassination plot per Russia. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into Russia.
Again, she's going to have all of the development about those developments right here on Live Now. In the meantime, I do want to start by going international very briefly as we talk about a developing situation over in Russia. We are told by Russian media that it appears that several people have been arrested in connection with an assassination plot, all connected to Ukraine.
Okay, so this is two different stories that are going on. So there's the assassination plot arrests, and then there are what happened last night. There was an actual strike on some sort of infrastructure. So we're going to go ahead and see what is going to be said about this real quick.
On the ground and has much more about the situation developing.
Ukrainian soldiers
sure is,
on the
Beezer.
front lines firing back Christmas Day, hitting the Russian town of Lvov in the Kursk region. This after Russia attacked Ukraine's energy system with cruise and ballistic missiles Wednesday, wounding at least 6 people and killing 1. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky responding, saying Russia made a, quote, conscious choice to launch attacks on Christmas, calling the move inhumane.
Oh, Joker, that sucks.
I do think it's inhuman to choose this particular day, but that's not unusual for Vladimir Putin.
In Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv, air raid alerts lasting nearly 3 hours did not stop believers from attending Christmas morning mass.
So Russia targets Ukraine's energy infrastructure. That's what happened.
At the Vatican, Pope Francis, in his annual Christmas address,
Merry
urging
Christmas.
for peace in Ukraine and Gaza.
I appreciate
May
you
the sound
coming
of
in,
arms
hanging
be
out with
silenced
us.
in war-torn
Adriano.
Ukraine. May there be boldness needed to open the door to negotiation.
In the meantime, President-elect Donald Trump's
Yeah,
choice
and they didn't just end somebody, fucking set them on fire. Yeah, set the fucking dude on fire. I believe he's El Salvadorian. No, not El Salvadorian. What was he again? I'm trying to remember what country he came from. You guys would remember. I'm trying to remember. Someone say it in the chat.
for special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, slamming Russia's Christmas Day attack, posting on social platform X, quote, "Christmas should be a time of peace."
Guatemalan.
Ukraine was brutally attacked.
Yes, Guatemalan. Thank you, Heartbender. I couldn't fucking remember.
On Christmas Day, launching large-scale missile and drone attacks on the day of the Lord's birth is wrong. The world is closely watching actions on both sides. The U.S. is more resolved than ever to bring peace to the region. President-elect Donald Trump vowed on the campaign trail to end the war in Eastern Europe on day one. In Washington,
Yeah, that needs to fucking happen. Shit needs to be ended ASAP. This fucking ordeal, Middle East is one thing, man. But this right here, this is what could really fucking fuck us up. 100%. And if we take the bait going after Iran, then that will really fuck us up too. But we're in a state where we need to focus on Russia, Ukraine. Get this fucking handled.
Shahasni, Fox News.
Fox News. I hate that
All right,
they do
Aisha, thank
that.
you so much for that report. 7:01 on the East Coast and 4:01 on the West Coast. Do want to head back right now to New York City. As I mentioned, a lot of developing news that we are following out of that area. The suspect charged in the death of a woman who was set on
That guy
fire.
right there. That's the dude. That's the first image I've seen of him since the original pictures of dude.
Inside of a Brooklyn subway train, expected back in court tomorrow. Sebastian Zepeda made his initial court appearance Tuesday, where it was determined that he would stay in custody. He did appear briefly before a judge, remaining fairly quiet while wearing, as you see there, a white jumpsuit over a weathered black hoodie. During the court hearing, the assistant district attorney said Zepeda was seen fanning the flames on the woman using his shirt. He added that under interrogation, Zepeda claimed he didn't know what happened, noting that he does consume alcohol, but did identify himself in images that were related to the attack. Again, these photos here coming in from our Fox 5 New York station from inside that courtroom. A lot to discuss.
Yeah. And it's weird how you guys are not even allowed. You guys are so suppressed right now. You can't even say it. Yeah, this dude burned alive a woman. Burned alive a woman in a Brooklyn, New York subway station. Yep. Fucking piece of shit. Piece of fucking garbage.
On this, so I do want to bring in David Schwartz, a New York trial attorney and former prosecutor. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, first off, no question, a very disturbing case overall. So I do want to ask you, what has stood out to you about this case so far as it's played out over the last several days?
Well, certainly the torturous aspect of the case itself. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for any New Yorker taking the subway, and the idea that there's not just crime on the subway, but now there is someone that committed
That's
this act
savage, Beezer.
of torture that turned out to be a murder. I can't think of anything more gruesome than setting someone on fire.
No kidding.
A person that was sleeping on the subway on fire.
That's a nightmare way to go out. Like, people literally have nightmares of shit like that. That's like that and drowning, you know?
Leading to torturing them and leading to their death. And that's the basis of the murder in the first degree.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. Tell me about the charges that Zepeda does face and the possible penalties if he is convicted. Again, that's way down the line, but can you break?
What a fantastic motherfucking question. Best question of the day. How's that sanctuary city thing working out for you? Shit.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
That down for me.
Sure. So most people who commit the act of murder in New York are charged with murder in the second degree, which has a penalty of 25 years to life. However, this particular murder, in the eyes of, I believe, most people, and in the eyes of the
That's the
attorney,
original.
Eric
That's
Gonzalez,
the original picture that everyone was shown right there. That was the picture of dude.
it was stepped up
And
to
that
murder in
one.
the first
Those were the
degree
two.
because of the gruesome nature and the torturous nature of the murder. Torture doesn't have, it's not the usual thought process of torture that you're torturing someone over many hours. Torture could happen within seconds, and certainly burning someone to their death can be defined as torture.
The fact that police are saying, as of right now, it appears that the suspect did not know the victim. There was no connection other than the fact that they were on that subway. How does that factor into a case like this? Does it factor in?
Well, it's particularly chilling for members of society that are just going about their business, taking their living their lives, going to the subway system.
No kidding.
And the idea that this person just randomly set someone on fire, causing their death is scary. It has a chilling effect on society. The act itself has a particular amount, as I said, of torture involved with this act, and it's just this depravity. It's this depraved act against another human
fucking
being.
wild act.
Which people just can't wrap their arms around this one.
Yeah, it's, again, disturbing, terrifying. There are so many words that have been used to describe this, and depraved as well. So Immigrations and Customs Enforcement has confirmed that this suspect is in the U.S. illegally. He's here from Guatemala. Does that change anything about maybe how the case does progress from this moment on?
Well, certainly it adds to the complete narrative. It's not going to change much as to the murder charges themselves. The fact that he was here illegally is not going to add any additional charges on the state case. Certainly, when this defendant is able to get out, which I don't think he'll ever be able to get out, he would be deported back, but that's so remote. So the idea that he's here illegally at the moment has no effect on the murder charge itself and what's going to play out in court.
That has zero effect? Zero? Only charging him like as if he's an American citizen.
What about a bond? You said it appears that he's not going to be getting out. So do you think that in this case, a bond could be set? We saw in the situation we've talked a lot about with Mangione, no bond set. And a lot of experts have said,
not with fire, homie.
No bond will be set. So what about Zepeda?
Again, no bond will be set. This is a murder case. Rarely are bonds set on murder cases. There are bonds set on homicide cases where it could be manslaughter and those types of issues. But this is such a cold-blooded murder.
Yeah.
Murder in the first degree. There's no chance of any bond being set.
Yeah, that's true, Papa. Damn.
The assistant DA there saying that
anything is
Zepeda
possible.
actually identified himself in the photos from the scene. And we do have these photos that were circulated right afterward by the NYPD. So is that a situation where essentially based on what police are saying, he's implicated himself, or can that somehow be walked back from a legal perspective?
I think it's going to I think it's going to add to his defense at trial, which I don't think is going to be successful. But this temporary insanity, he was an insane person when he set another human being on fire. And if I were the defense attorney, I would argue that you have to be insane to set another person on fire. And he didn't know the difference between right and wrong. And therefore, when he got to his senses afterwards, he did identify himself just to add to the insanity at that moment. So I think the defense will use that to their advantage, not to walk back the identification.
This is crazy.
But to to put it forward in the insanity defense.
Well, one thing that's been mentioned, investigators are saying that when he was interrogated, he said that he had no recollection of actually.
You gotta love the insanity claims, homie. Every fucking time. That's the only thing that you can really use and you can get away with shit. Claiming that shit. Absolutely. So everyone, that's the last. If you have no other option, just claim insanity.
Doing that. So I imagine that's got to factor in as well, as we were talking about the potential temporary insanity defense or something of that nature.
Fathers fight back.
Right, and that's going to add in, and I'm just presuming that that's going to be the defense at trial. I have no idea that will, in fact, be the defense at trial. But all of this will add into the insanity defense. The defense will bring on experts at trial to say that he was absolutely insane at the time
they should be fucking praising you for doing shit like that.
Act. It has a very small chance of working at trial, but that will be a defense, and it is a defense that he's entitled to put forward.
Talking a little bit more about kind of tying in the Mangione case, as we've been discussing here, we know that cameras aren't usually allowed inside the courtrooms there in New York. However,
man, the media is insane in there.
We did have cameras in there for the Mangione case. We also have these photos that were provided by a pool camera that was allowed in when Zepeda did appear in court. So is that setting any sort of precedent where maybe cameras will be allowed in court from now on? Or are these just kind of situations that are on a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis. The judge in any particular case can rule that there's a First Amendment right for the freedom of the press to cover an arraignment or a particular portion of the trial, but there's no presumption that
the reason why everyone wants to be 5150 now is because, listen, it gets you out of fucking trouble.
Cameras in the courtroom.
It's the only
in
thing
New York,
you can get.
However, the judge at any given time can always rule that a particular.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. I believe that there should be live coverage of every single fucking case like that. Absolutely.
Portion of a trial may be televised.
And my last question for you, we do know that Zepeda is scheduled to appear in court once again tomorrow. He was already in court earlier this week, and it was a very brief court appearance. Do we know where the case does go from here? I imagine we are still very far out from any kind of trial or anything of that nature.
Dope.
So what is next here as the investigation does continue?
Hey, Fathers Fight Back. Hit me on my Instagram, dude. This is where I correspond with everybody. Hit me in the direct messages right there at Ball Valve TV.
Well, certainly the investigation is going to continue, but also the defense is going to be entitled to discovery. There'll be many motions made in this case. There'll be certainly the preservation and putting forward the insanity defense. So the defense will be interviewing bringing us psychiatrists and experts on to develop their insanity defense. The prosecution will work on evidence showing that.
I agree with that sentiment, straight. Just like our politicians. At this point, this is one thing I'm going to advocate when I run, by the way, is all politicians, anybody that's speaking, I don't know why we have these sit down, cut up interviews and shit like that. Everything should be fucking live streamed. What do you got to hide? Live stream it all. Live stream everything. You know what I mean? Allow the American people to actually understand what is happening and not get your fucking opinion on it. You know? I want to see it for my goddamn self.
He was not insane at the time of this heinous act. And you're going to see the discovery process.
Hardwire, my man.
Probably a trial within a year from now.
Hopefully you're feeling good this morning.
David, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and break it all down. Anything else you want to add really about any of this before I let you go?
Well, it's just, it has a chilling effect on New Yorkers. And it's ironic that, our political leaders were telling all of us that that crime is down in the subways, and then you have a heinous act like this. So New Yorkers have to be very careful, and hopefully we'll work harder to get mentally ill people off the streets and out of the subway.
And we did see a lot of criticism of Governor Kathy Hochul because hours after the crime happened, she was tweeting out how subways are safer than ever. They're not sure if that
Stop the cap.
was a scheduled tweet that was scheduled ahead of time or what. But David Schwartz there, New York trial attorney and former prosecutor, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help break it down. We appreciate it.
I got you after the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And I do want to take you out to another story that we have been following over the last several hours here on Live Now from Fox. This one also taking us over to New York, and it's right near Herald Square. This video coming in from our Fox 5 New York station. We know that 6 people were hurt after a taxi cab struck a group of pedestrians outside the Herald Square Macy's. This was on Christmas Day, just yesterday. The incident happened around 4 p.m. local time at 34th Street and 6th Avenue. Again, that is some scene video showing the aftermath. Authorities say a yellow cab jumped the curb and struck the victims. A 9-year-old boy did suffer a laceration to his right side, while a 41-year-old woman had a head injury, both taken to a hospital for treatment. A 49-year-old woman did sustain a leg injury, according to investigators, and was taken over to another hospital. All 3 said to be stable at this point. 3 other victims suffered some minor injuries and did refuse any further medical attention. The driver of the taxi is a 58-year-old man, and police say they do not know why or what caused him to hit the pedestrians. They are looking into a possible medical situation. The cause of the crash still under investigation. As we get more details on that,
that's a wild case right there. That's for damn sure. All right, so we covered, Israel vowing in this is only a 2-hour difference, right? Like, so essentially 3 hours ago, Israel vows to launch a retaliatory attack on the Houthis. And then in the same exact live stream of breaking news, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, there actually was an attack on the Houthis in Yemen by Israel. And so, and then Russia, Ukraine, I mean, they got their infrastructure taken out. It's just a lot of shit going on in the world, man. And we need to be vigilant, and we need not to get sucked into the Middle East. Like I was saying, we need not to get sucked into an Iranian bullshit fight. We need to not get involved. Russia, Ukraine needs to be the very first thing that we pedestalize in the sense of this is the very first problem we need to get done. This is what we need to get finished. We can get handshakes done and we can finish, that off, at least for fucking now. You know what I mean? That whole Russia-Ukraine thing needs to fucking be handled. So anyways, with that being said, we're going to be raiding our good friend Black Dragon. Okay, guys, he's never actually received a raid from me because he's always live streaming before I am, and he gets off before I do. So we're going to go ahead and raid him. Let him know, hey, Mike Ball raid coming in thick and hot, and let him know that, hey, we're here to show out. So listen, man, much love, honor, respect to each and every single one of you guys. I hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas. I know the fuck that I did. I really enjoyed myself. And, I did 3 live streams for you guys yesterday, Christmas Day. That was a good ass time, man. That was, and it was equal for me as well, just so you guys know. Yes, BD is still talking. Who would have thought it? That's funny, man. Let them know that we're coming in hot. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness. Peace.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning.